Today, the House Oversight Committee is expected to vote on holding former President Bill Clinton and former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton in contempt of Congress. It comes after they refused to appear for depositions in the panel's Jeffrey Epstein investigation. The vote comes after committee chairman James Comer said yesterday he turned down an offer from the Clintons' attorneys to have the former president testify before only him and ranking member Robert Garcia. Comer argued the offer shows the Clintons, quote, believe their last name entitles them to special treatment. He's a former president. The panel has subpoenaed the Clintons, along with a number of former government officials, as part of its Epstein investigation. Last week, the Clintons insisted they provided the committee with information, along with sworn statements. They had no knowledge of criminal activities by Epstein or his associates. They also argued the subpoenas are legally invalid because they do not serve a legislative purpose. Want to bring in Democratic Congressman James Walkinshaw of Virginia. He's a member of the House Oversight Committee as well as the Committee on Homeland Security. So both of your committees have been quite active lately. Let's focus on the events that are going to happen later this morning, this contempt vote. Comer clearly driving ahead with it, despite the fact that, and you and I were talking about this off camera, it's not atypical to go back and forth, especially with former presidents, having them come testify before Congress about what it might take to get them there. And yet it looks like we're going to push ahead with a contempt vote. How are you voting? How are you thinking about it?
Well, look, our North Star here has to be getting transparency and accountability, what the survivors are correctly demanding. And anyone who has information should talk to the committee. I think we should point out here, Hillary Clinton has zip, zero, zilch, nada, nothing to do with Jeffrey Epstein. The fact that the Republicans have included her shows, I think, the nakedly partisan approach they're taking here.
Yeah.
Bill Clinton and Jeffrey Epstein did have a relationship for a period of time, and I think Bill Clinton should talk to the committee about that. Every president in history, throughout our history, who's come before Congress, there's been a negotiation about the terms of that conversation. And my understanding, based as recently as this weekend, is that negotiation was ongoing, and an offer was made to have on the record, under oath interview in New York with the chairman and the ranking member and President Clinton. That could get us some answers if President Clinton knows more than he has said publicly or not, and could advance our investigation. A criminal contempt process ends that and will be tied up in courts for years. I want to get answers. They should have the interview. I don't care whether it's in New York, Washington, on the moon. We should have the interview and get the answers we need.
So it sounds like, even though we talk about them as the Clintons, but it's two separate contempt referrals here. So it sounds like you're a no on both of those.
Right now, unless Chairman Comer can convince me that he's negotiated in good faith and the Clintons have refused to have that kind of interview that will get the answers for the survivors, then yeah, I'm a no. It just doesn't advance the investigation. And obviously, it's worth noting here, a person who's in defiance of an oversight committee subpoena is the Attorney General of the United States, Pam Bondi, who has not produced the files that our subpoena requires. If we're going to consider contempt for one, we got to be bipartisan and treat everyone equally here. Chairman Comer hasn't shown any interest in that.
I was going to say, Comer was asked a question last week even about the ways that, sure, you want to talk to Bill Clinton. He's a former president. We've seen him in photos around Epstein. That makes sense. But why are you not applying the same standard to President Trump? Comer has yet to really square that circle. And I think that's an important piece that will come up a little bit later today. I do want to switch gears away from contempt and into the other matter of business this week, which is government funding. There's a DHS funding bill that has been very complex. It's gotten a lot of attention on the Hill, in large part because it comes after the ICE actions in Minneapolis. How are you thinking about this bill, and might it lead to a shutdown? I know many Democrats are planning on voting against it.
I traveled to Minnesota last week to hear directly firsthand from folks there about what they're experiencing at the hands of ICE and the other federal immigration enforcement agencies. And I made it crystal clear at that hearing and sense that if the DHS funding bill doesn't include very strict language to rein in ICE, I mean, ending the masking, ending the refusal to identify themselves, real use of force standards, CBP back to the border, then I wouldn't vote for it. And I'm someone who's voted for a series of bipartisan appropriations bills that we passed this year that were compromises that I thought made sense. I've read the bill. I've looked at it. It doesn't do what I think is necessary, so I'm a no. Republicans still control the White House, the Senate, and the House, and if they need votes from Democrats, like me, they're going to have to listen to our priorities on behalf of our constituents. They haven't done that here.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like the bill has enough in it for most Democrats, but for Americans who are looking at Congress saying, is this the moment where we go into another shutdown? What would you tell them your expectation is of that?
My expectation is Republicans will probably be able to pass this bill in the House with a very strong vote from the Republican conference and maybe some Democrats. And I suspect in the Senate, where, we had 8 Democrats who voted to end the last shutdown, it seems like there might be enough votes there. I'm holding out hope that there still could be some changes to the bill before it comes to the floor in the House. I know amendments have been filed. I'm going to be pushing for that. But most likely it passes with unanimous Republican support and perhaps some Democrats. And
then not to ask you to continue forecasting, but if we look at this morning out of the contempt hearing, do you imagine that it passes out of committee?
Yes. Republicans have a majority on the committee. Yeah. They'll vote for it. I think you'll hear Democrats talking about the need to consider Pam Bondi, who is truly in contempt in defiance of a subpoena. But Republicans have shown they'll do anything they can to cover up the Epstein files, including covering up Pam Bondi's refusal to comply with subpoena.
Yeah, I do think the parallels here between Clinton and Trump, why the committee is treating them differently, the parallels of if you're defying a subpoena, why are you not looking at Pam Bondi? I do think that those are rational questions that we should expect to hear some kind of an answer to.
That's right. And look, Democrats, we want to talk to everybody, Trump and Clinton.
Yeah. Right. And I think that that's a key piece of all of this. Democratic Congressman James Walkinshaw of Virginia, you have a very long day ahead of you. I will see you on the Hill. Thank you.